Hi, welcome back to Living Enchanté. Today, let's talk about the French way of eating calmly for pleasure, which is so different than the way other people talk about eating, which is all about food rules and intense stress around food and eating. Let's just calm down about the way that we're eating and make sure that we're eating sensibly, calmly, and for pleasure, because that is the antidote to inflammation. Stress causes way more inflammation in our bodies than any foods do. Even if we're eating really bad foods because we're going through a hard time, stressing about that adds so much more inflammation to our bodies, and it's just not worth it. So whatever season of life we're in, we can calm that down, eat with pleasure like the French do, and calm down that inflammation and just live a better life. This is the way that I have always eaten, and this is what's helped me stay slim and healthy, even after having 3 kids and in between each of those kids as well. I love the way that I eat. I love living every day, enjoying the foods that I'm eating, so I want to make sure that you're doing this too. So this is principle 1 of the Enchanté Diet, and you might have seen my first video about this. If you haven't, it's no big deal. You don't need to see that first to watch this one, but you might want to watch it afterwards. It's just a recap of the 10 principles, so you might enjoy watching that next. But this is the first principle, is that stress causes way more inflammation than any foods, and so we want to really embrace the kind of natural French ways of eating calmly, with pleasure, enjoying our meals, and really sitting down to eat and pay attention to what we're eating. Here is what I have seen so many times over the years with so many people who are really well-meaning with their eating habits. They get so uptight about what they're going to eat. They are on these strict regimens. They're kind of militaristic about not eating gluten, not eating dairy, not eating meat, doing all these very by-the-book things, making sure you have exactly this many servings of fruits and vegetables, all of this kind of stuff. But what happens is they get so stressed about their regimen and so stressed about doing things right or doing things wrong that that stress actually starts to build in their body, which causes inflammation despite all of their good intentions about eating good. But then they can't digest their food and then they just feel terrible. The stress is really causing this reaction in their body where no matter what they eat, even if they're eating really healthy things, they just don't feel good. They don't have energy. They don't digest their food right. They don't just have this flow of food and eating that feels really good. And so it's kind of defeating the purpose of eating great in the first place. If you have felt this way in your life, make sure you stay tuned and let me know if this resonates with you and what you want to try first to come back to a place of calm, pleasurable eating. You've probably heard of what's called the French paradox. And the French paradox is basically that in France, things that in other parts of the world we would consider too rich or too caloric are eaten with seeming ease. And so things like butter, bread, cheese, all of these things that a lot of Americans and people in other parts of the world really avoid because, they expand the waistline and they do all of these things that we don't want. Those things are eaten with relative ease and as part of a pretty normal, healthy daily diet. And this happens because the French lifestyle of food traditionally is so much about balance, and it's not about restriction, and it's not about not eating certain things, even things like chocolate, sugar. It's just about incorporating those things as part of a daily diet, but also just being really calm about them. There's no major tracking of exactly how many calories you ate at this time or exactly what you did and making sure that you're balancing those all the time. It's just a calm approach of balance. If you eat chocolate for a little dessert, after dinner or after lunch, having a salad or something fresh at another part of the day, it's all about just coming into cohesion where things are very calm and approaching those things with pleasure. Eating those things because they feel good. Both of those things, really healthy things like fresh vegetables and then things like chocolate. Eating those things because they're pleasurable and just allowing your body to kind of experience the multi-sensorial way of eating lots of different things calmly. I have this very, very vivid memory, and I bet some of you remember this. I had this memory of watching the Oprah Winfrey Show when I was like maybe in middle school. And there was this one episode where they were talking about how butter is healthier than margarine, because margarine on paper should be healthier. But because we have eaten butter for so many centuries and it's just part of a human, the way that most of us can digest food, it's healthier because we can digest it better. This is how I think about the French paradox and eating in a balanced way like this in general. It's not about the exact nutrients or the exact calories or anything like that, or the micronutrients, macronutrients, whatever people call it. It's just about having this calm, intuitive, ancestral way of eating that's just sensible and normal, and it doesn't cause so much stress. It doesn't cause so much overthinking. It's just like, yes, this is normal food. This is what we eat. So the biggest principle of this way of French eating is just this calm way of, on the one hand, being extremely passionate about what you eat and extremely paying attention and talking about the food and really cooking beautiful things, but also having a little bit of nonchalance about the details of it and not overthinking whether it's good or bad for you or all of these complex things. It's just about this detached inner knowing and this calm way of eating normal, sensible foods for pleasure and for being with others in your life, having a meal together, having meal times where you eat at that time. So then you're not constantly thinking, am I hungry? Do I need a snack? Do I need to, calculate the snack into my day's calories or anything like that? It's just about calmly enjoying your meals with other people or by yourself and having those meals be an enormous sense of pleasure. And when you do that, when you sit down with a nice plate and fork and glass of water or whatever you're drinking and being with people, having nice conversation, you're having the exact opposite reaction of stress. Your body is just releasing these chemicals where you feel great, and therefore you can digest your food the right way. You're not overwhelming yourself by overthinking about what you're eating and the exact amounts of what you're eating. You eat until you feel satisfied rather than you feel totally full or like you can't eat anymore or that you're still hungry. You just eat until you're satisfied. And then that's it. You just go about your day. It's a meal. It's beautiful. It's one of the most amazing sources of pleasure from your day. And you get to continue that habit every day because you get to make every meal such a source of calm, enjoyable pleasure. And you just have this inner knowing of what feels good for your body and how much and which foods you want. You don't have to splurge on certain foods, sweets and butter and so on, if you don't feel like it, just because it's a part of the lifestyle. It's about listening to your body, eating things in moderation when you want them, on the days that you want them, and otherwise just eating what you feel good about and just feeling good about meals, feeling happy when you think about eating and meals, instead of thinking that you have to worry about what you're going to eat every day, about making sure that you're balancing everything just right and overthinking it, which causes stress and indigestion and not feeling great. So let me tell you a little bit about what this looks like for me in my life and how this adds to my sense of just feeling good all the time and being at the weight that I want to be, and also being at the level of health that I want to be, which is really the most important thing. So I only eat at meal times. I don't snack, not as a rule, but just as a guiding light that, like, if I don't snack, I look forward to my meals more. And I know that I care about the foods at meals way more than like having a snack that doesn't feel good. I wake up early. I'm always an early riser. 4:30 or 5, I'm awake. I have coffee, but then I eat breakfast around 7:30 or 8. I eat a nice, nutritious breakfast, and I want a hot breakfast every day. I'm not like one of those people who can just grab something on the go and eat it in the car. Like, I cannot do that. I'm physically incapable of doing that. I want to sit down no matter what's going on. I have 3 kids. We homeschool. There's always something going on. It's always a lot of movement in the house, but we prioritize sitting down for breakfast. Nothing fancy. It's usually a baguette or some kind of bread and fruit, and then sometimes some type of protein, whether that's an egg of some sort or just anything. I always have butter on the bread that I'm eating or some jam. And sometimes I have either a glass of fresh made juice or just some orange juice, but that's about it. It's a nice, simple breakfast. It's not elaborate. It doesn't take a lot of time to make, but it's just extremely nourishing and sets that kind of anchor of my morning of, yes, I have eaten well. I have sat down to a hot meal, and now I have so much free time to do what I want with my day. A few hours later, it always seems to go really fast with all the things going on in our house. We make lunch, and lunch is our main meal of the day in our house. But we have always liked to eat our main meal European style at lunchtime. This is the heavy meal of the day. And as a homemaker, this is actually easy for me to make lunch instead of waiting till way later in the evening when I'm tired and having to make dinner. So I make our main meal of the day at lunch. I cook something that takes less than an hour for sure. Usually right now, less than that, just because my kids are really small right now. But we have our main meal of the day at lunch. So that definitely includes some kind of protein and vegetables and some kind of grain if that's more bread or pasta, sometimes rice, anything like that. But that just feels very nurturing to sit down and anchor ourselves again and really having that pleasurable time of connection to be with each other and to eat something really just wonderful. It also really changes the energy for the whole day. Instead of just eating like something, like a sandwich, something that you grab while you're out and about, and then having a bigger dinner, it makes me feel more energized for the rest of the day to really be whole and pleasurable rather than just cruising through lunch on autopilot. After that, we always have like a French style snack around 4 o'clock in the afternoon. I make something for my kids, something light, sometimes a treat of some sorts. It often involves Nutella, something just kind of snacky, but also really enjoyable, something warm, something nourishing. And so if we're going to indulge in something sweet, it's either going to be right then at the 4 o'clock snack time or kind of as a dessert right after lunch earlier in the day. And then after that, I typically do intermittent fasting, which I'll talk about in another video in the future about the Enchanté Diet. But my kids then will typically have dinner before bed around like 7, and it's a light dinner. It's honestly, sometimes it's something like oatmeal or something even breakfasty feeling, because it's just easy to make something at night like that, or leftovers from lunch, or just something quick to make that's also nutritious but also calming to the body and warm before bed. So that's what it looks like for us. That's how we plan our meals in a way that's pleasurable and allows us to sit down and really enjoy our time together. So at this point, you might be thinking, okay, Lauren, I'm on board, but I've been stressing about food my whole life. I don't even know how to get out of that. So here's what I want you to think about. First, this week, pay attention to the sensational things that you see about food and just try to start blocking them out. Whenever you see a headline about, you know how it is, always something about you have to eat kale every day, or kale is going to kill you, or seed oils are going to kill you, or there's all of these fear-mongering headlines or stories about food that we see every day. So we have to first really pay attention to how those are affecting us and start to just push those aside. Return to this just normal, sensible way of eating. That's the first thing. So pay attention to that and let me know if you see anything really hilarious, because I'm sure there's bound to be things. The second thing is that it's actually really hard to remove a habit. It's easier to replace a habit. So if you're in the lifestyle of just always stressing about food, always overthinking it, always worrying so much or thinking so much about your weight or your calories or anything like that, instead of trying to just make yourself stop that cold turkey, just replace that with what would feel good and pleasurable and calm instead. So think about maybe 3 things that you would like to eat this week and how you can actually eat those things and build them into your diet this week and really enjoy them. So that could be anything. It could be any meal that you love. It could be any little ingredient that you love, or it could be a specific fruit or vegetable. Think about 3 things that would feel really good to bring in rather than focusing on things that you want to take out. Start there by just replacing those habits and trying to bring in some things this week that feel really nurturing and would make you feel very nonchalant and French in your eating this week. And do let me know in the comments. I would love to know what those 3 things are and what you're going to eat this week to feel good and pleasurable in your eating, or just what you're going to do to change your environment to feel really good. And if you also want to share, I'd love to hear what you're going to stop worrying about. What little things can you give yourself permission to stop stressing about and stop worrying about regarding food and, your diet, so that you're not just always caught up in that tight web of worrying, which does cause that constant inflammation. If you would like to hear more about this topic with me, I have 3 videos that you might enjoy. Of course, the first one is the Enchanté Diet 10 Principles. That's the overview of these 10 ways that I eat in a way that's ancestrally French. The second one is my chic and can't be bothered roast chicken dinner, which is something I make all the time. It's just very simple. It feels very pleasurable to make and to eat. So this was like the second video that I ever made on my channel, and you might enjoy watching that. And then the third one that you might like too is about how I shop a little bit French at American supermarkets, which I can tell you is not an easy thing to do. But keeping this lifestyle in mind, I went through some purchases in that video from American supermarkets of how I just eat in a very kind of down-to-earth, simple way with what I have. So I hope you enjoy those. I would love for you to like and subscribe if this was helpful to you, because I will be making videos over the next few weeks and months about the rest of the 10 principles. So I hope you really like those. And then of course, forever with more food ideas. All right, thank you so much for joining me today on Living Enchanté, where we always keep things charming, tasteful, and a little bit grand. I will see you next week.